we're going to keep it really kind of on the down low today, like really chilled, because it's because that's where you want to be, right? Everyone's, we want to be chilled? I'm good. Doesn't matter to me, but I have a feeling that usually when we get back from Thanksgiving break, I need to go really easy. A quick thing. So let me just hang on, say something. If you're watching the stream, just know we just got off 1 week of a break, and it's just everyone's just sort of building up the energy to get back. So class today is going to be really slow and relaxed. And Thursday's class, we actually have a guest, and it's going to be a really very cool class on Thursday. Really, I'm really looking forward to it. So, going to be something that we haven't done before, and looking forward. Going to be really intense, actually. Two things. One, we mentioned this class that's available. I'll send something out. Indigenous Ways of Knowing next semester. So if you are, we have some of these flyers up here. If you're interested, if you need a class next semester and you want to, I talked about this right before the break. If you'd like to dig deeper into Native American cosmology and Native American ways of knowing, this is a really a great opportunity, because it includes a 2-week Maymester trip to the 2 different reservations in upper Minnesota, and an opportunity to engage indigenous Native American cultures in ways that you just don't have the opportunity to do if you're an outsider. So if you do need a class, come see me or come get one of the flyers. Okay. So I didn't know what to call today's class, so I just called it this. What am I choosing? I don't know. It's really we're just going to have a conversation, and I'm really going to rely on you. We're going to go in a few different directions, but I'm going to really rely on some of you to help out here, because I can just talk, but I think we're gonna need some volunteers. I already lined up a few volunteers, but we'll need a couple more. So I'm going to start at this place. Over the break, I came across this in the BBC, and there's a department store in Japan that decided, came together at a suggestion from employees, from women in particular, employees, that it would be a really good idea if somehow women were identified or could identify themselves at the periods on the days that they were bleeding, so that they were menstruating. My wife calls it bleeding. She always had this idea, like, people have all these euphemisms to talk about what it is when you have your period, your cycle, your this, your that. And for her, it was always just, I'm bleeding. Let's just be really clear about what it is. So I just call it bleeding. So she taught me that, and following her. But in any case, these employees said, hey, this would be really cool if we could just kind of identify ourselves. And that way, people around us and other employees, be they women, be they men, although in this case it would be mostly women, would know that, hey, listen, I'm going through that time of the month, in my month, when, I might be feeling some kind of way, understanding that some women have it much easier than others. So like some of you who are women and who bleed, for you it's really not a big deal. It's easy, your physical effects of those days are pretty mild. Maybe it doesn't last very long. Maybe there's actually not a whole lot of bleeding. And in fact, maybe it's just a little bit of cramping. Maybe you hardly even notice. But for others of you, it really is some major days. And that's kind of how things are. And so these folks in the store said, what if we wore name tags, and we could, on the days in which we want to identify that we're cycling and we don't have to do it, we can just turn the name tags around, and that other people could would see that and say, hey, listen, why don't you just take an extra, you've been on your feet for now like 2 hours. Why don't you just sit down for a hot second? I'll do this. Or let me carry those boxes. Or let me take care of this custom. Let me do whatever I got to do. But let me just help you out here. Because, come on, man. We're going to help each other out. We're like, sisters in the sisterhood. Sisters I don't know what you'd call it. Sisters of the bloodletting. How about that, right? So my wife called it, so whatever, it's all good. So, but whatever it is, right, we can do that. And we're here with one another and we'll make it happen. So they started this project whereby women could do it. And once again, it was voluntary, but then word got out beyond the store, and then people started having their opinions about it. And then, half the opinions were really positive and half were really negative. And so I'm not sure what the negative opinions were. So, look, for me, let me just say something about myself, right? So I, in many ways, have lived my life not understanding what the big deal is, like the certain things that people get upset about when I think there are other things to get upset about. Like for me, the ongoing genocides that we're having in the world are something to get upset about. The increasing polarization of the classes, right? The fact that the rich are getting infinitely richer and the poor are getting much, much poorer. And there are lots of things, the continued sort of degrees of racial and ethnic inequality that we see, right? There are certain things that I think you get upset about, but this I've never really understood it. And I'm speaking as a man for a second, so let me continue to speak as a man. I also didn't really understand bleeding. So my mother was one of those people for whom it was really easy. A lot of things were really easy for her. Childbirth was easy. Breastfeeding was easy. Bleeding was easy. It was all just like kind of done and very, very simple, right? But my wife, about the time we moved in together, her monthly cycle started to get really, really difficult. And every month it was, at least 24 hours and sometimes 48 hours of just being horizontal for her, like really hard. And my wife is one of these people who can deal with pain. Like when she grew up, when she got her tooth filled, when she went to the dentist and she would get her tooth filled, she never took Novocaine. Like her father didn't use a Novocaine, so she didn't use it. Imagine getting your tooth drilled without any Novocaine. That's my wife, right? So she has a really high pain tolerance, and she's really, really strong and tough in that way. She had rotator cuff surgery. She didn't take any pain. They gave her Oxy, and she tossed threw it away, and she took an Advil. And then I said, dude, you got to take more Advil than that. And so she took 2 Advil, and that was like the end of it. She just went through the pain. So watching her go through a really, really difficult couple of days every month really tuned me into how it is that many women experience this, if not most, experience this in the world and are managing this in this male-centered world. And so I started to really think about it in lots of different ways as she continued to think about it. And so one of the things that we would talk about as we would be in different places and she would, we'd have to kind of negotiate lots of things and she would negotiate her life and moving in different ways. And then we started thinking, okay, if men had a monthly cycle, how would life be? If men, because, the men seem to be pretty much, this has not always been true, by the way. For parts of history, in many places in the world, and still in some places in the world, women are running the show. But in the West, it has been men. And so the question is, if men bled, if men had a monthly cycle, and men experienced what women experience, how would things be? What would society look like, and how would things be? What would we see in the world? What changes would we imagine seeing? How would things be organized? How would society adapt to address the fact that half of the human population cycles? Half. Not 5%, not 10%, but half of the entire human population cycles. Meaning they are managing a cycle and physical experiences as a result of that cycle. So the question is, how would we organize society? What would we see? What might we expect to see? Anyone want to take a shot at it? Anyone want to go for it? No. First off, anyone want to come up here? The first person talking. But hang on. I just want to note that the first person who raised their hand was a guy. So before I open it up to another guy, which is fine, I want to open it up. Are there any women in here who would like to grab a microphone and say, yeah, I could imagine this is how things would be? You want to do it? You want to come down? Anybody else? Anyone else want to give it a shot? I have 2 microphones. Anybody? All right, man. Well, you can start, and we'll see what happens.
Nice to meet you.
What's your name again?
I'm Olivia.
Olivia. You can sit up here. You can do it however you want to do it. You can stand. You can sit if it's more comfortable. All right. What would we see? What do you think? So the idea is, if men were cycling, meaning that, but in this case, because I didn't want to just seem like I was picking on men. Although, hang on, I want to say the following, and then you're going to go. I do think in the West, men are calling the shots and much more than women. And so, therefore, I can say if men were cycling, but we're just going to say everybody, just in this so that we keep it fair and not feel like we don't want to be called radical feminists. So, what do you think?
Well, for one,
Hold the mic close.
It wouldn't be called women's issues or reproductive issues. It would just be called healthcare. You would have an abortion clinic on every corner, probably via ATM style machine. And
you say that because men would...
Because they would access it and they would feel like they had skin in the game.
And men would feel like, hey, we have a right over our own bodies, and
yes.
We have... Mm-hmm. Hang on, by the way. There probably are a lot of people who think that's a radical idea, and it's not true. I actually don't think it's a very radical idea, and I think for the most part, just like men, it's women aren't insisting on gun control. No. It's mostly men who are insisting that the Second Amendment really matters, and I think it would be mostly men who would say, hey, I have a right to control my own body. So, okay,
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
I don't think there'd be the stigma. We wouldn't get, if I was in a bad mood or curt, I wouldn't get a look, well, someone's on their period or it's someone's time of the month. Like, women out here, exactly what I'm talking about.
So all of this, the negative things that are pointed at, all the ways in which men kind of belittle, or other women even belittle other women who are, got you.
Yeah, okay. PMS is a dirty word.
Wait, what do you mean by that? So PMS, say more.
Premenstrual syndrome. It's the time of the month where some women experience extreme, not emotional disturbances, just extreme fluctuations. It's your hormones are up and down a lot. It's pretty natural. It's your serotonin levels, your dopamine levels, physical discomfort. It all adds up to, kind of a shitty time.
You know what? it adds up to healthcare.
And it does, absolutely.
So hang on, I'm going to keep interrupting because I want to make sure that you do. By the way, this is awesome. So the idea is, we have this thing called PMS, and we're just like PMS. I'm PMSing. She's PMSing, but but if we break it down, premenstrual syndrome, which is even a misnomer because you're talking about all the fluctuations in an entire cycle, all month, for an entire month.
Right. It just happens to be typically about a week before the bleeding starts is more extreme. Because your body is going through more extreme changes. Okay,
and if it was about men, or if it was about everybody, do you think we'd know more about what that was all about?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you say more about that?
Oh, I mean, it wouldn't be a dirty word. It would just be that's part of life. We deal with it. It's actually kind of hard to say, thinking about how men don't talk about their feelings. Maybe we wouldn't. I mean, the idea is men don't talk about they're not emotional, so maybe we wouldn't know more.
So PMSing, quote unquote, right? The fluctuations that we feel would be sort of on par with like getting a migraine.
Exactly.
It's like if you get a migraine, I'm like, oh, you're migraining now. Oh, I see.
No one's going to say that. You're going to be like dismissed and like, please just go home. Don't be miserable.
Okay, got you. All right. What else? Go ahead.
Sure. I think there's an idea too, like there's a really real medical concern for some women who have like PCOS. That's, for those who don't know, polycystic ovary syndrome, which is, I can't say from experience, extremely like debilitatingly painful. So it's not just run-of-the-mill kind of stuff. It's really bad, can be really dangerous. You can like bleed out. It's so extreme. Uterine fibroids. It's not just being on your period for some women.
So let me ask you this. What are some of the things that allow women, that makes it easier? So if you're part of the female population, see, can I just jump in? One thing that's happening in your generation a lot is people are using birth control as a way to manage all of the symptoms and all of the experiences of a cycle.
Right.
And so there's a lot of people in here who, you're managing it on birth control. So a lot of women who don't really understand all of the things, some of the things that you're talking about.
Right.
Whereas in my generation, we didn't use birth control. Like birth control wasn't used in that way. And so, you in a class like this, a huge, much larger segment of women would feel themselves the really difficult experience of their cycle, whereas now it's much smaller.
Absolutely.
So how do you think we would, if men were menstruating, how would we organize things?
You would get flex time at work if you needed to take a flex day because you weren't feeling good. People would understand instead of roll their eyes at you.
So you think it would just be a given?
Yeah, absolutely. It would just be part of the human experience, not necessarily a gender or a biological sex experience.
Mm-hmm. It's part of the human experience.
Yes.
What else?
I mean, I think that the way our paid time off would be structured differently. It wouldn't be, 2 weeks worth of sick time. It would be a flex day here and there, and that would be totally normal. I'm a little older than probably most of you. I've worked in a professional setting, so saying like I wouldn't have to like wonder if it was worth going into work or if I should dip into my sick time. I would just be able to get the time off that I needed because I wasn't feeling well that day. Maybe it would be more like a 4-day work week instead of a 5-day work week, or I could work from home if I wasn't feeling good.
And there are many cultures, by the way, where women will get like guaranteed 1 day off every month. Right. And the 1 day is they can use during their cycling time, but they don't have to use it. Right. But that's just part of it. And so what about like things like, I always had this idea, or my wife and I would talk about, if it were, there'd be heating pads everywhere. So like in a classroom like this, you might come into the classroom, it's just would be a given, right? Because men, it's just normal for us. You'd come in, maybe you go to the back, you'd reach in the box, you'd get a heating pad, you'd take it to your seat, because it'd be like, yeah, because this heating pad really makes me feel better. And
Well,
you'd sit down in the seat and
Why isn't it that way? It would be comfortable for everyone if we could get a heating pad, like whenever our neck hurt or something. So.
But men don't understand what that is, right? What it
Absolutely.
means. So
I mean, tampons wouldn't be ungodly expensive and hard to find. We wouldn't have to like secretly whisper to people if we needed to borrow one from them.
or
It'd
they'd be
accessible.
available
Yeah.
in every bathroom.
And everywhere, absolutely.
Wherever you went. Yeah. Anything else? Anybody else have anything they would throw in? What else would we see if men could menstruate? Dude.
I just feel like mental health would have like blown up way more, way earlier. Like I feel like our generation through social media is spreading awareness, but if guys like when they started like I guess menstruating and having like that giant hormonal imbalance, they would experience like a lot more emotion. So like the greater picture would just see like a more, I guess, accepting of mental health, and it'd be like we'd be way more advanced with it. It would have started like a while ago.
Right, so it would be it just would be built into the way we are. Yeah, dude, I'm with you on that. That's like the healthcare thing. Yeah. You could just stay up here while we take some questions.
I also feel like, kind of like elaborating on what you said earlier, that, like, you know how like you go to like a stand or something like that and they have like free condoms and they hand out those. I feel like they would do the same thing with like sanitary products like pads and tampons as well. And they wouldn't be like how you said, they wouldn't be like a secret anymore. I feel like they would just be like handed out more often.
Yeah.
Like, the equivalent of like how people hand out condoms.
Like if you're getting your book bag out, if you're getting stuff out of your book bag in this class and you accidentally, pull out a couple tampons or something fall out onto the floor, you're like, how many people in this class, if there are guys around, how many people would feel mildly embarrassed? And how is it and why would you feel mildly embarrassed? Like, you just never would. It just would be like, I don't know, like, hey, I need a pencil for the quiz. Does anybody have a pencil? So like you would just ask, does anybody have a tampon? Like I just need that. Like this would be the kind of stuff that would be just so normal. Anybody else? Bro.
All right. I don't think it would be that different.
You don't think it'd be that different than
No,
it is now?
I mean, I think our country at its inception was, it was founded on like the Puritan beliefs and the sexual stigmatization, like in the culture is just pretty prevalent. Like, I don't think it's really that.
But a period isn't sex. It's just part of it's what your body does. I can't control it.
Yeah.
You can't control it. It's like, imagine having a stuffy nose and just like feeling embarrassed. You have to ask people for a tissue.
Right. Well, I don't think I think that's like a false equivalency. I think you basically have to say like.
No, it's not.
Well,
No,
just
dude.
let me.
No, hang on.
Let me.
No, hang on. Go ahead, because I'm gonna turn your idea. But go ahead.
Excellent.
No, go ahead.
But I think it's different. It's blowing the nose. It's not related to the dick, to the penis, to the vagina, like sexual organs that are like ooh in American.
But my
culture.
vagina isn't sexual whenever my uterine lining is falling out of it. That is
No, dude,
uncomfortable.
listen. No. Hang on. Hang on. I hear. Yo, hang on a sec, bro. What's? Listen, hang on. Yo, listen up, Nick. So I hear what you're saying. I'm with you on that for sure. Like what we're talking about, what we are talking about are parts of our anatomy that have dual purposes. Let's say, right? Okay. And so you're walking into that world and saying, "Hey, look, man, if you're hypothesizing that if we weren't talking about women's uterus and so on, right? Mm-hmm. Vagina, uterus, clitoris, all of that down here. If we were actually talking about the ears or something up here, right? Okay. Then you think because of the Puritan, because of one thing that stops us from that is just that we are this Puritan society. So anything connected to reproduction or sex in any way, you have the idea that that actually holds us back from having, from
Yeah.
being more open.
I mean, yeah, that's what
Yeah,
I think it
okay.
was a dialogue.
And okay, so part of that's, dude, good point. So one of the arguments, though, I think what you're saying is, but there's two very distinct things. It just so happens that the monthly cycle involves the part of a woman's body that is also connected to sex and reproduction.
Right.
And so it is, if men could menstruate, it would be seen in very distinct ways. We wouldn't put them together automatically, even in a puritanized way. It just would be, no. Hang on a second. That's sex. This is this other thing over here. I think that's what you're talking about.
They're
like
related,
healthcare.
but not the same.
We would disentangle bleeding from sexuality. We would link it with healthcare.
Yes.
Yeah. I tend to think that. I see what you're saying, but I tend to think that we would pull it apart a little bit. But who knows? Anybody else? Yes.
I don't think there would be a luxury tax on tampons.
What's that?
I don't think there would be the luxury tax on tampons.
A luxury tax on them? Just so they'd be...
They would just be, because like it would have no tax, just like how necessity items.
a
It would be
necessity
considered
item.
a necessity item instead of a.
It'd be like buying
Yeah.
food. There's no tax on it.
Yeah, I got that. Somebody else?
I'm just like curious about how people think that the stigma around, like, I know I've heard guys say to each other, like, oh, do I need to get you a tampon, like when they're acting like girly or weak, and like how that would change if people actually or like if men actually understood like the pain and stuff that using a tampon and getting your period takes. So I'm just like curious what people would think about that.
So that it wouldn't be, so say it again.
So like that, like the connotation of like weakness and
Yeah,
like
exactly.
fragile
Yep.
because you use a tampon, which
I
like,
know.
literally makes no sense.
I know. No, like for example, like my wife, it's like if I really watching what she went through, and I'm like, damn, you are just unbelievable in your strength and so on, right? There's nothing weak about it. There's just nothing at all. And I'm blown away, even right now, by the power of women. I'm always thinking about this, right? Because I've lived with this woman for 30 years, and she's not bleeding now. She's on the other side of it. But nonetheless, I'm always aware, like, whoa, how many people, what is it? What's the experience? Yeah. Somebody up, bro, right in the, just the other thing. I mean, I always said, one thing I used to do in here years ago, but I didn't do it now because whatever, it's like just asking, like, don't raise your hands, but just even to ask how many women in class are bleeding right now, like are on your cycle, and how many people would and would not raise their hand. And so my question was always, like, well, if it was like having a migraine, which it would be if it was men, we would just raise our hand, but yeah, I'm in the middle of my cycle right now, and here it is, and like, it's all good, or it's all bad, or it's a problem. But even the feeling like, hey, I don't want to raise my hand, or I'm ashamed, or I'm embarrassed, or it's personal and it's private, it's like, where's that come from? You know what I mean? Like, how would that be? And some people just are right away like, oh yeah, I am. And other people are like, nah, it's private. And those are the things that we learn. I mean, it's my question, right? Yes.
I also feel like on top of like the perception changing, we would also have different types of arguments because like a lot of things that women consider a women's issue would no longer be an issue. Like we would have more open conversations and more people would know about what the pink tax is, and people would advocate more for like feminine products in all countries, because there are a lot of countries where like females can't go to school for like the entire week when they're on their period because they just don't have like the hygienic products that are necessary, and they don't have anything that they can do for it. And then we'd have a different discussion on birth control products, because we would realize how much of an effect birth control products have on like the menstrual cycle, and it's more like for more purposes than just.
Right, so how valuable that is and how important it is. Like we would talk about, we used to have, Lori and I were part of a project in Ethiopia, working with this school where the young girls, it's a really poor school, and exactly that, because of a lack of any kind of feminine hygiene products, and these are starting at a young age, would just have to stay home because they just couldn't go to school, right? And think, man, like really trying to understand the complexities of that. Anybody? Yes. Do you have anything else to add? What do you think about what I just said about women, about people not being willing to raise their hand? Would you feel, if I had asked, and I'm assuming you would raise your hand.
I've given birth in front of a room of doctors. I don't have any shame about my reproductive health anymore. It's been on display for lots of medical students to see at one point. So yeah, I would raise my hand. It's not a secret to me. I mean, if someone asked, I'd be like, yeah, I'm not feeling up to it today.
So you have one child?
I have a child, yeah.
Did you breastfeed?
I did.
And did you breastfeed? How was that for you?
It was super natural. It was a great bonding experience for my son, and I did it.
Did you breastfeed in public?
I did.
Did you ever catch any pushback?
Yes, I did.
Really?
All
Like
the
what?
time. Like, you should cover up. You should go to the bathroom. Who wants to go to the bathroom to eat? Certainly not a baby. That's so gross.
Wait, hang on. So you should go to the bathroom and go inside of a stall and sit down and feed your baby, waiting there, and then come back out?
Yeah, isn't that gross? Would you go eat a sandwich in the bathroom?
Dude.
Yeah, exactly, no.
Wait, so the idea is that people did not want to see, what did they not want to see?
I guess they don't want to see a well-fed baby. I don't know.
Did they think they were going to catch a shot of your breasts?
Which is, I guess, like it's
Did you cover?
I had a cover, but I would use it if I felt comfortable. But if you've ever held a baby, you know that they're not always the most cooperative of people. Like, it's hot, it's, damp, they can't see their mom, it's loud, they're confused. So baby doesn't want the cover. Baby throws the cover off after a certain age.
So I have
to try.
So we're going to come back to that. Yeah, let's...
Just like from another side, like I'm from India, so there's like a lot of period stigma there when it comes to like religion, and it's been getting better, but like not, it's like been very recently. Like my family's Hindu, so like growing up, you can't go inside a temple if you're menstruating. You can't like go in the kitchen and cook because you're, I guess, like contaminated. And I know like not for me, but like when my mom was growing up, like when she was on her period, she grew up in like a village, so there was kind of like a hut that like you went to in the back of the house and you kind of stayed out your period. And like recently there was this one temple where like women weren't allowed to go into. It was only men and like women who had like achieved menopause, because if there was ever a chance you were menstruating, like you were not allowed to go there. And the Supreme Court just like overturned that ban like last year. But I know women who have been trying to go have been like met with protesters, riots, assault. So
I know of that temple. I've been reading that. So it's definitely it's really cool that you say that, because it's not just the West. This is this way in which it's around the world, and I have to think, my friends, I might be wrong, but I have to think that if women ruled the world and women established the laws of, like, say, in your case, in Hinduism, women would not say, hey, you know what? Here's a really good idea. When we, women, who are establishing the rules, right, when we are menstruating, it's really would be a good idea for us to go and sit in this back room over here so that we don't contaminate other people, and we certainly don't go in the kitchen because we don't want to contaminate the food. And like, I have a funny feeling that if women ruled the world, those kind of decisions would never, ever, ever get made. Which makes me then wonder about something like you. If women ruled the world, what's the likelihood that breastfeeding in public would be seen by many people, including other women, as a shameful thing, as opposed to something that's really awesome. I mean, here it is. The breasts are finally getting used for the thing that they're supposed to be used for, not for male entertainment. Like, so if you walked into a place, dude, you should give me a roar on that one. If you walked into a place, if you left, say you're breastfeeding and someone gives you a hard time, and you left your child with someone else, and you came back in with a really low-cut top that showed all your cleavage, those same people would not tell you, I'm certain, to cover up.
No one's telling me. It's a dual purpose thing, kind of like you were talking about. But it's not, it's uncomfortable. Whenever you're breastfeeding, typically, like it's a whole thing. You have to like wear extra layers so it doesn't leak everywhere, and then it's like a wet t-shirt contest no one wants to go to. But at that point, it's not sexual at that point, though. But yeah, if it was the other way around, and I was just walking around like nipples out, it would be like a whole different kind of thing, right? But men don't have to cover up. You go to a beach, and men are the most like people I would rather not see shirtless are walking around with their shirts off, no shame.
And
like
so,
bigger boobs than me, honestly, sometimes.
Yeah. So here's a shot. So this is DJ. Who you met DJ? She was in class doing the Native American class. She's the one that's teaching the indigenous course. So this is in my office just a couple hours ago, and she's wearing this little shawl thing here underneath. She's pumping for her child, right? For Angelica, who's my goddaughter, by the way, who I was going to bring today, but she's home sleeping. And so she's pumping. So the whole time we're talking, right? So she's just like, she doesn't have to put this on, because I'm like, dude, please, you never have to cover up for me, because this is the purpose of boobies. You know what I mean? To feed children. Like, you never need to. But whatever is most comfortable for you, it's fine, right? So she's pretty comfortable, and she's breastfed in front of me. But, it's just kind of, you're at work. And so in underneath is this pump that's going, the whole time we're meaning, it's going like, and I keep reminding myself, whoa, the miracle of the fact that in her breast is producing this milk that will go to her child. It's like, oh my, it's just the miracle of life itself. And I just, for me, going back to my question right here, no, that's not my question. My question is, I just don't understand it. I don't understand the issue. So good for you that
Me neither.
you held on to that. I don't know. Dude, yeah. Anything else?
I don't think so.
How old's your child?
He's 5 now.
All right, so it's all good.
Oh yeah, he's a very good little feminist kid.
Good feminist kid?
Oh yeah.
Dude, awesome, man. So thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah. Olivia. I think, look, here's the thing, y'all. Are you ready? I'm not trying to jam any ideas down our throats about anything, right? But what I'm trying to do is get us to imagine how and why is the world organized as it is? How and why? Like, how does that happen when something that just seems so obvious? Like, you know, when I personally, like in my world, there are just some, we've like taken things and twisted and turned them, like say with sexuality, or that we twist and turn them, I don't know, in ways that gratify certain segments of a population. You know, like for example, men, for men or other women even, to not have a problem when, say women are wearing really low cleavage, but have a problem when women are doing the thing with their breasts that breasts are really not meant to do, because not all women have children, and not all women breastfeeding doesn't work for all women, but the breast is designed in that way. And it just like, I think me as a thinking person, I'm always trying to deconstruct how it is that we've created the world that we've created and why and for whose benefit. Like, whose benefit, right? And in this case, it seems to me that if women were running the show, a lot of things would be really very, very different that we don't even think about because it's kind of like fish in water. The fish doesn't understand ever that it's in water because it's in water. It lives its whole life in water. But it's only the being that's outside of the water that can be able to say, hey, that fish is in water. And I think that's true for many of us with our culture. We wouldn't even imagine kind of the world in which we would live if we just kind of like turned it around. And I think that's kind of what I'm getting at. And by the way, for women who are in here and who I just want to drop something in the room, who would feel really uncomfortable, let's say breastfeeding in public. I don't think people have to. I mean, although, look, if I were king, you would have. This would just be part of it. It would just be part of the world. There would be certain things that just would be a given. But nonetheless, I'm not king. But if these are the kind of places where sometimes we feel uncomfortable about stuff like that, and then we expect that we're going to be equal in the world. Like, as a woman, right? I'm going to be this powerful woman in the world, and people are going to show me respect, and I'm going to insist that I get respect, and I'm going to be in relationships where people respect me, and yet, but I'm still not comfortable talking about the fact that I'm in my cycle. Or I wouldn't be comfortable talking about breastfeeding, it's like, man, if you can't, that's kind of the ground level. If you can't demand equality there, it's going to be really hard to get equality in other places. Final comment? Yeah.
So I was wondering, do you think that even if breastfeeding was technically normalized, do you think women would still feel as if though it was okay to do it in public? Because like with body issues and mental health issues, do you think that although it is normalized and people wouldn't necessarily think twice about it, that women would still want to do it in public? Or do you think that they would go to the restroom to continue, because like the speaker said, it gets your shirt wet and it's a hassle and it is like more of a private thing? Do you think
No. The hassle is that it's really hard to be stuck in the corner of a room dealing with all the things you got to deal with. So like if you're at a restaurant and you got to like, okay, I'm at a restaurant, oh man, I got to feed. Now I got to put this cover on me and I got to look around. I got to make sure nobody's really kind of seen, and I'm going to hold my child with one hand. And breastfeeding is a chore, right? Like you said, it's really difficult, especially as your child gets larger. And then you got to put the cover on, and you got to keep lifting the cover up because baby gets hot, and it's like, oh my God, that's the idea here. But if you just didn't have to worry about those things and just said, okay, let me just open my shirt and let me just start breastfeeding, where, there's air here, everything is it's okay, I don't have to sort of hide away. That would be what would be normal. And that would make the whole process much easier. Because, like when you're breastfeeding at home and you're just sitting in a rocking chair, it's just like, oh, okay, I got it, right? And I watch this with DJ. When I'm in her house and she's breastfeeding, I mean, dude, my whole life with women, but nonetheless, it's just like this really relaxed and open thing. But when, it's in the office, then it's like, okay, I got to make sure that nobody walks in, not for her, but for them. And so I think that's what it is. And yes, I do think that it would just be a given and that people would be much more comfortable and much more actively just engage, feeding in public, these kinds of things. I just think it's just a give, it's just sort of like, oh God, of course, I just think that's just the nature of things. And that women, first off, we don't have kids, but if we did have kids and my wife was breastfeeding and someone in public, she would breastfeed in public. And if someone did anything, I'd tell them to F off in a heartbeat. It would be like, dude, are you kidding me? Look at my wife's boobs. It's fine. That's what they're made for. Like, this is just insanity, right? But that's me. That's not everybody would be comfortable being in that place. But what I'm telling you is, if women ran the world, you would be comfortable with it. And everything I'm saying, every woman in here would be like, if you all ran the world, you'd be like, yeah, that's right. That's exactly how it would be. Like, it wouldn't be, none of you would be sitting here saying, yeah, but I don't know, for me, I'm still not. No. You would have created a world in which you were in control, and everything that happened to you would be the normal thing. Like, you were normal. Cycling people were normal. It's normal to cycle. Well, of course. Oh, you'd look at men. Oh, you're non-cycling. Oh, poor you. Like, you poor pathetic soul, right? No, we're the cycling group. Like, we're elevated. We're cool. We're stronger. We're better. Like, those are the kinds of things that would happen. Everything would turn on its head. Yes, did you have a nut?
Yeah, I have to do this for Giving Tuesday for one of my fundraisers. I'm fundraising for Camp Kesem. Can I go to the bathroom?
Oh, yeah, but hang on.
Can I go to the bathroom?
Can you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Dude, put that, make sure we put that up. Do you have a final comment? Okay, we're going to do the final comment, and then we're going to go in. Hang on, can I borrow that? What's up, dog? You still going next semester? All right, final one, though.
I just think it's important to think maybe like, what if guys got their period and girls didn't? Like, do you think it would be the same way that it is with girls now? Or do you think like there wouldn't be taxes on like feminine products and like it would be more normalized just because men got it and girls didn't?
So you're saying if men ruled the world and only men got their periods and not women, like no women at all, totally, man, are you kidding me? It would be just a given.
Yeah.
We'd be like bragging about, if we ruled the world and got periods, we'd be bragging about, yeah, I'm on my period, man. Had a whole cup of, whatever it would be. We'd come up with all these really crazy things that we would do. Of course it would be. It's just like, yeah, it's like, it's so bizarre, man. Men. All right, listen, let's go. Hey, can we, hey, by the way, I'm not, my job isn't to push any kind of agenda, by the way. My job as an instructor is to just get us to think. So that's all I'm doing. I don't really care. No, I do care, actually, because half of the world's population, I think, actually is kind of is very much held down by so many things. Hey, but can we, speaking of being held down, Fatima and Allah, is it? Can you come up, the two of you, actually? So we had a couple weeks ago when we had class. Were you here that day? You weren't here. Neither of you were here that day.
I think I was sick.
You were sick, and I think you were sick. On that day that we talked about hijabs?
Yeah.
The one day I was going to call you both up. Anyway, so what's your name? Where are you from?
My name is Fatima. I'm from Saudi Arabia.
My name's Alette, but no one can say that, so everyone calls me Ale. And I'm from Wisconsin.
From Wisconsin?
No,
Where in Wisconsin?
I was born in Madison, but like everyone asks me where are you really from, and my parents are from Egypt.
From Egypt?
Yeah.
Hey, are there any Muslim women in here who are international students but who cover back home but don't cover here at Penn State? Anybody? Any international students? Or any Muslim women in here who don't cover? Who?
In this class.
Are you from the U.S.? Let me stick with that. Okay, that's good to know. Anybody else? So can we just talk? you can stand, you want to sit or do you want to stand?
I'll sit.
It's easy, yeah, okay, here, move down a little bit. So,
I'll just stand.
what's that?
I'll just stand.
You can stand, yep. Hey, so can we just talk a little bit, so what happened in class a couple weeks ago is we started talking a little bit about covering and hijabs, and people in class were like, hey, can we talk about it? But I didn't want to do it. I thought, okay, I can talk about it, but can you just tell us a little bit about, okay, this covering? What is it? Why? How? Can you start anywhere?
Do you want to go first? Sure, I'll go first. So, I'm Muslim, if you didn't know that. When you reach a certain age and you're female, you start wearing the hijab. That's what this is called. And usually you wear it around puberty, once you get your period. So people
Wait, so at the start of your period is the point at which for many girls they start to make this decision.
Yeah, okay. It just depends family to family though, because I know some of my friends didn't start wearing it till I don't know, later in high school, college, when they felt ready, to be honest, or when their parents, when it was some people, their parents are like, oh, start wearing it when you start your period, or oh, when you're ready, when you feel most comfortable. So, for example, I started wearing it when I got my period because I'm considered a woman at that point. When you're younger and aren't puber, your sins and deeds don't necessarily count. If you were to die before reaching puberty, you would in Islam go to heaven because you're a child. Things start to count when you hit puberty. So
it was when you say you started wearing it, did you make the decision?
Yeah, I made the decision to start wearing it.
How did you know? How did you know at that point? Where did you learn that, hey, I need to make a decision now because I just started menstruating?
So my mom wears it, and I'm the oldest girl in my family. I have 2 other sisters. And my mom wears it, and I've grown up in America my whole life, and I've lived in different states, and I've lived in pretty diverse areas. So I lived outside of Portland, Oregon. I lived in Wisconsin, lived in Kansas. It was always diverse little pockets. So I was surrounded by people who were very accepting and very there was diversity. So I would see Muslim women in America. So I thought it was normal. So I didn't wear it the first day I got my period. I rushed and put it on. That's not what happened. It was during the summer, and I decided to wait till the first day of 7th grade, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna start wearing this. And it was weird because the day before I was wearing short sleeves. As you can see, I'm wearing short sleeves right now, and I have long sleeves underneath because I have to stay covered. But I was wearing short sleeves and shorter shorts, and the day before, and then the next day I'm nearing a long sleeve, a scarf, and jeans, and I'm looking at myself in the mirror, and I'm like, what the heck? I'm putting this on right now, and I'm never gonna take it off in public. Because that's a common question, oh my God, can your dad see your hair? I'm like, well, he made me, so yeah, he can see my hair. And then people are like, can your brother see your hair? And I'm like, yeah. I get all these questions, do you shower with it? And I'm like, well, how would I wash my hair then? Or do you sleep with it? And I'm like, no, I don't.
By the way, you're answering questions that people in the class have, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm not throwing shade. I think every question, is reasonable, and people are like, oh my God, this is so ignorant, but why do you wear it? And I'm like, that's a great question to ask. Yeah. It's I get weird questions. A girl asked me if I was allowed to wear thongs, and I was like, yeah, I am. And she was like, well, people don't see it. And I was like, do people see yours? And she was like, good point. And I was like, alrighty then. Yeah.
So let's go. let's go to you.
Well,
Fatima.
I have like a comment on what you said. Like you mentioned that the day before 7th grade, I think you said, you were wearing shorts and you were just wearing a t-shirt and like you didn't have your hijab on.
Yeah.
And this is something that a lot of people don't realize, that it's not just the hijab.
Yeah.
Like we cover like our hands and like we wear.
And not just women, but men also, right? But
No.
not to the same degree.
Really. Like
Some men.
are supposed to cover from like their belly button to their knees.
Yeah.
It's practically so
But
people
anyway, stick with
wouldn't
you.
like
Stick with you.
sexualize you.
Yep.
So the whole point of this is so if you meet me, like you wouldn't focus on my body, but instead you would focus on me. You know? So like for us girls, this is what happens, because like when like a girl gets her period, that's when she starts to develop those like, I guess, curves, and like she starts having like more feminine boobs and so on. Like, that's why like we would wear like long sleeves and so on.
So the idea here is that with that in mind, suddenly the girl starts to become a woman, starts to get attraction, attention from men in some kind of ways. And so it's like, listen, if you men are going to look at me, then you're going to look at me,
Exactly.
not my body.
Not
you're going to actually look at me.
this, yeah.
So how about you? How old were you?
Well, I got my period when I was, it was in the summer between 4th and 5th grade, so I got it pretty early. But for my family, my mother wears hijab, and she kind of started like getting me used to wearing hijab. So, I guess like I used to just like wear this scarf or the hijab, but it wasn't really like, if you can see, like I don't show any hair. Like back then, it was just like whatever. It wasn't like a responsibility, or it wasn't really strict. And since I was like early on, when I was like in elementary school, even before I got my period, my mother wouldn't really allow me to go out in shorts, for example. But like I would wear t-shirts. Yeah.
And then wait, hang on. So, tell me about the decision for you.
Well, as I told you, like my mother was kind of already preparing me for that, so it didn't really feel like much of a change like yours. You said like one day you were wearing shorts and t-shirts, and then the other day you're just like fully clothed and wearing your hijab. It wasn't like that for me.
But but the question a lot of people have is how much was it your decision versus your family's decision?
In the beginning, it wasn't really my decision. It was my parents' decision. It just was the way it is. And then like as I grew up, as I like entered high school, I would say I started like thinking for myself. I was like, okay, I'm wearing hijab, but am I actually like convinced that I want to wear it? And then I just like, I was in that stage where I was questioning that, but like I came to the conclusion that I really want to wear it.
And do you have friends back in Saudi who have got to the questioning stage and they don't wear it?
Yeah. I have friends back in Saudi. I have friends even here that like sometimes they would wear the hijab in Saudi Arabia just because sometimes there's this social pressure. If a girl doesn't wear the hijab, but like here they're totally okay with it. And even their families, like they're accepting of her not wearing hijab and so on.
So I want to show you a cartoon that I've used, the two of you. So this cartoon is kind of emblematic of what you were saying a little bit, right? And so the idea of modesty and the idea of really not just wanting to put yourself out there as like eye candy for men or whatever the case is, but rather saying, wait, hang on a second. So, I mean, how do you see that?
Well, talking about male domination and so on, like I would say maybe 8 years ago, like because I was like in Saudi Arabia until I graduated high school, I saw that with my own eyes. Like it was like a male dominated society, and then like as I mentioned, people will look down on girls that wouldn't wear hijab, or like they wouldn't wear abayas, which is like the long thing. But nowadays it's totally like you would walk down the streets of Saudi Arabia seeing girls wearing like I wouldn't say shorts, but like more of leggings and crop tops and not wearing hijab.
Yeah.
And like it's starting to become something more normal.
Yeah.
People are starting to realize that it's the woman's choice or the girl's
Yeah.
choice because she's the one that's going to be wearing that.
Yeah.
And it's kind of her decision because she's deciding how she wants people to look at her.
At her, not
Yeah.
like I'm gonna do. Hey, hang on one second. Hey, are there any women in here who would be interested in trying on a hijab, wearing a hijab, like seeing how to put one on and just doing it for a second? Hop in it?
Do you have an
You
extra
wanna do
one
it?
on hand?
I do actually.
Oh, okay.
You want to do it?
Cool.
Yeah. All right, come here. Can one of you here? I have.
Yeah,
a
I
scarf.
can do it.
Whichever one is easiest, do you think?
I like this one. I don't know. I like the color.
Yeah. You have to take your hat off though.
Yeah.
It's a bad curl day.
It's
No, it's
okay. I think
They're
I
so
think it
beautiful,
looks
though.
great.
Day.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
So personally,
Okay, go ahead. Go
All
ahead.
right. Do you
so
want me to hold it for you?
sure.
Like the mic?
Well, okay. So I was gonna say personally, I pull my hair in a bun because my hair is really long.
But it works.
Yeah,
like-
it works. Like
Yeah.
some girls,
Like a low one or a high one?
I'd say low. I don't like the look of, but like to each your own.
It's the same thing with hair. Like, even if you have the same hair, I guess, hair type as another girl, it's just the way you wear it yourself, you know?
Hey, wait. While she's putting that, why don't you put that on her? Can you answer a couple questions? So why is it that there are different types of veils? If you look up here, right, like the niqab. So a lot of people in Saudi wear niqabs, right? Or
Yeah.
What is nobody wears burqa, right? Very few.
Very, very, very few.
So
Very
what's
minimal.
the difference? Like why?
Same thing. Like, some people are just, like, very beautiful, to be honest, and, like, they just... It's literally the same thing. They just don't want people to focus on their facial features instead of focusing on who they actually are.
So I've had some conversations with women in niqabs, right? So here, that, women who are really, really powerful. Like if you would see a woman wearing this, the first thing in the West we would imagine is she's not very much a feminist, right? But I've had conversations with feminists that are like, damn, man, far more feminist than many women that I have conversations, most women I have conversations with here in the U.S.
Well, here's the funny thing. I actually sometimes wear niqab back home.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You're going to switch to a niqab?
Not here, but, like,
back
back
home.
home mostly, yeah.
When
And
you go
it's,
back.
like, same thing. Like,
Yeah.
for me, it depends on the way people are looking at me. Like, over
Yeah.
here, I would say, what, like, 1 in 100 people would look at me sexually because I have my face, like,
Yeah.
out. Like, I'm not covering it. But back home, because you're practically covering everything else, so that's what they focus on.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but guys like sexualizing women. So this is, like,
Dude,
the way
no,
it is.
can I show you something? Hang on, you just
my God.
sit like that
look
for a
Arabic.
second. Let me show you this. So in Saudi, like 8 years ago, when the Saudi government had to pass the rule that women had to stop sexualizing their eyes. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Because
And what
like,
is that? It's
dude, you look at like so you go like if you're in the Gulf, right? And I'm walking in the mall in the Gulf, and there are all these women here and I see nothing but their eyes, but I'm like, damn.
Wait,
those eyes.
actually, no. Okay, wait. I was gonna say, went to Egypt once, and I was like walking in the street, and this girl's wearing like full on niqab, and she's walking down the street, and the guy goes, "Oh my God, your eyes, they're like a desert when I look into them," and I'm like, you can't even see anything, but you're gonna compliment for the eyes. So like
Yeah, exactly.
that's
They're
how you
gonna go with
pull
whatever.
when you
That's
can't
what I'm
see.
saying. Like,
Yeah,
people,
exactly. No, guys,
See
they're going to do
anything.
it. No, exactly.
That's-
So the idea, so what the Saudis said was, what I saw was women who are wearing the niqab, because they only have their eyes to sexualize, do all sorts of things with their eyes, like this woman here, to be like,
I
"Oh,
don't
I'm
really
gonna
think
push
they
it."
do it to like get that's what I hate when people are like, oh, don't wear makeup. Are you trying to get a guy's attention?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
don't do this. Are you getting a guy's attention? I'm like, no, I'm doing it because it makes me feel good. I like,
Wait,
like girls.
Here's the thing. If that girl was looking for attention, she wouldn't wear niqab.
Yeah, she would just stay with the hijab.
She would literally
yeah.
just like walk around in a dress or like in shorts. And I'm not saying that that's like whatever.
Yeah.
Like if someone is wearing shorts, that's not what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
you're not showing
Wait,
off
can I
anything.
get
That's
these
not.
two?
I'm not assuming anything.
No,
but
right.
but if she wants attention, she knows how to get it. Like she's gonna wear
exactly.
like whatever she's gonna wear.
Yep, exactly.
Seek
I got you.
attention.
Yeah.
Like no, just.
No,
I don't
exactly.
get the
No, for
guys
me-
that
no,
like
hang
back
on.
home that like have such a closed mind
Yeah, exactly.
that they would think that, oh yeah, she's doing stuff with her eyes just like to lure men or whatever. Like no.
It's
I think, Sam,
yeah,
I think
it's
what you're trying to say is that's what the Saudi government was trying to say women were
yeah,
trying
the Saudi
to do.
government is saying,
Yeah.
hey, this is what you women are doing, and so you need to cut it out because men are you're driving men crazy or whatever the case is. It's like tell men to stop looking, you know.
Yeah.
So how is that for you, by the way?
How
Do you-
is what for me?
How is it wearing the?
The hijab.
Oh, I don't know. This
Here, hang on.
feels so like.
Let me show you what you look like.
I don't know. I just always thought like I would see, girls in hijabs, and I always thought like it was beautiful. You know what I mean? Like it's powerful. Like it's just putting on me, and I'm like, oh,
Right. So okay. So you. Right. So we don't see your hair. We're seeing like it's just there's just that modesty piece, right? Like it's just I don't know. It's totally different. Right?
Do you feel
So-
different? Like I'm just wondering. Like sometimes I find myself like when I'm wearing hijab, I focus more on what I'm saying or doing instead of focusing on the way I'm looking or.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I sound stupid rather like putting into words, but like I get what you mean. Like how I said, like I don't know. Like right now, I'm like I feel weird, like not in a bad way, but like
Is
I
it
have
like
a job on.
I'm just wondering, but is it like does it give you confidence or does it make you feel weaker or like
no
oppressed,
confidence.
I guess.
Not weakness at all.
So you feel more confident.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm telling you, this is.
I don't know,
Can
it's weird.
you respond to like just that confidence thing, like the power? Going back to this, it's like which woman is more powerful, the one on the left or the one on the right? You know what I mean?
I personally don't think I think they're equally as powerful. I feel like we have two different experiences because like I was raised in America where like I'm the minority, and
hang
like
on.
you were surrounded probably by a ton more women that were wearing it. So when I moved to Pennsylvania for high school, I was the only Muslim girl in my high school in the history, I think. So shout out Spring Grove because it's like middle of nowhere, Hicktown. And like when I moved there, I got comments like, you terrorists, like you're going to bomb our school. And I'm like, you could be a terrorist too. Like anyone could be a terrorist. Like why am I a terrorist? But like, so it was like a shock, like culture shock for other students in my school. But like eventually they were like, oh, like that's so cool. And everyone just like really, I think I gained a lot of respect in everyone's eyes, and everyone thought it was really cool moving forward. And, but definitely I feel as though, people like,
Make your hang on one second, y'all.
Rude AF.
Dude. Hold on. Finish your thought, and then then you got 1 minute to say something about Camp Kasem.
oh yeah, okay. Well, anyway, I'm just saying wearing a hijab's cool. What they're doing is cool, like Nike coming out with scarves, Macy's having like lines for women. It's really cool because growing up as a child, there wasn't much of that in America. There wasn't like the Barbie doll now, or like Ibtihaj Mohammed, the fencer for the U.S. Olympics team. So yeah, it's cool. But
Great, 30 seconds. What's Camp Kasem?
okay, today is Giving Tuesday, and I'm part of Camp Kasem. It is a organization that raises money for kids who their parents are battling cancer, have passed away, or are cured from cancer. And so, yeah, if you are trying to donate, hit me up. I'll tweet the link or something. It's a good cause, and cancer is near and dear to me. So I think,
Yeah, well, so it's for kids whose parents and family are battling cancer. So the camp gives the kids a place to go just to be.
yeah, and it's fully
free for a
covered
week.
when we
Yeah.
fundraise for the cost.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you,
gentlemen.
Yo, thanks, y'all. Hang on.